All right, Pete, let's say we did it. We have an athlete listening right now and they are bought in, they want to start meditating, but they don't really know how to start. Do you have a go-to method for people new to meditation that you can recommend as a way to frame their practice as they begin meditating?
Yeah, so like you pointed to, the breath can be more challenging. But I also think that because it's neutral, right? It's not something that generally we're getting stuck grasping for or we're kind of pushing away from. And because it comes with that impermanence, right? That each breath lasts a certain extent. It's an inhale, it's an exhale, right? That it's an important component to a well-rounded mindfulness diet. And so what I often do will work with an athlete to find something else that's really compelling, right? That's I call it everyday mindfulness or mundane mindfulness, something that they do regularly that they can bring their attention to, and then pair that with some sprinkled in opportunities to use the breath as an anchor. And so an example of something that's not super sort of activating, right? Could be, some part of your pre-performance warm up. So athletes generally get really into and build some pretty firm routine around their warm up. And so, can you bring your full attention to the direct experience of, putting on your shin guards as a soccer player and lacing up your cleats? Uh, can you bring your full attention to taping your stick? And again, like that happens all the time. Everybody kind of goes on autopilot as they're just doing it, right? Can I, for this little bounded time, and I think this is really important, no matter what you choose as an anchor, right? The first piece is you want an anchor, and it has to be a really concrete, clear one, right? But the second piece is we want to have a defined start and a defined end. Because although you can sit down and just have no idea, and like if you go to a meditation retreat, they don't tell you how long the sit is going to be, right? So you just kind of sit there and then you notice when you're like, is it time yet? And oh, that's a distraction, right? And so there's value there, but it's also a much higher bar to clear, right? We've added a lot of weight to the bar. And so you want to clear beginning and end. And then the third important guideline here is uh, you want to start where you can feel successful
Yeah.
and then add more weight to the bar. We don't put you under a squat rack with 500 pounds on it and go like, well, you'll figure it out. Right. And although there isn't a risk of physical harm like that example, when we think about, hey, sitting down to do 30 minutes of meditation right out of the gate, right? You pointed to this right in the intro is that a lot of people have unproductive or unsavory experiences with meditation up front. No, that didn't work. Or all I did was be distracted. Right. And so start where you can be successful. I usually start with 2 minutes. And people go, oh, 2 minutes is nothing. I'm ready to jump into it. But like you pointed to, your mind will wander. I used to do this in group workshops. We'd do 1 minute, and then I'd say, raise your hand as soon as you get distracted. And about 20 seconds in, almost everybody's hand is raised. And then you always have the one person who's like, I was here the whole time. Look, I know you think that was true, right? But that just means that you were distracted the entire time, right? Because nobody is dialed in for a whole minute at any given time. And so then maybe that's a fourth guideline or just a caveat, which is, and we've been building to this entire time, is that we can get caught up in paying attention consecutively for, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds is the idea of doing it right. And then we can get really frustrated when we feel like we're not doing it right. So I can get up off the cushion after 20 minutes and go, man, I spent all 20 minutes distracted. And I can get discouraged, or I can think that I'm screwing up and that, well, you know what, there's less motivation tomorrow to do it. It's important to recognize that even when I get up off the cushion after 20 minutes, and if it feels like I was lost, there is plenty of moments where I go, oh, my mind is wandering. Ah, there's my breath. And then it might be a split second before I'm distracted again. Ah, I come back. And so the way I describe it to athletes is that each one of those is a rep.
Yep.
And so we've now designed a win-win scenario. So if I pay attention for 2 minutes consecutively, which is wildly unlikely, even though I've been meditating for more or less a decade, right? Like those 2 minutes, well, great. Congratulations. I'm feeling really calm and really settled in this moment, and my mind isn't quite as active as it usually is. But if I spend that 2 minutes and I'm distracted 60 times, but I recognize every single time that it happens and I come back, again, do the math. That means 2 seconds a pop before I'm distracted again, right? That's actually success too, because I've just gotten 60 reps of noticing and then returning. And that is really the two things, right? Is I notice that I'm gone, I return, and as I'm doing it with a non-judgmental and compassionate attitude. I'm not a jerk for getting distracted. The thoughts or the feelings or the dog barking outside, that's not a bad person or a bad thing. And so, one of the mantras I bring to athletes when we are working on mindfulness practice is no big deal, right? The dog barking, no big deal, right? The fact that you missed an open net, no big deal. And you're going to have people out there that really recoil. You can see the physical tension in them when you say this because it feels like a big deal. Or even the negative self-talk, the anxiety, that roiling in your stomach pre-performance, right? We can start to learn that unsavory or unpleasant experiences, they feel like a big deal because we connect thoughts and meaning to them. And the better we get at diffusing from them, right? Creating that space and noticing them for what they are, right? The easier it is then to do my job while the noisy neighbors upstairs are banging around and doing all of that. And we all have examples of this where, there's some construction happening outside, right? And all of a sudden it kind of just fades into the background. It might be annoying for a little bit, but then it kind of just fades, right? Or the people upstairs are having a party and like, man, that's unbelievable. That's so, and then it just fades. Or your little brother's kicking the back of your seat while you're driving. You're like, man, eventually that just fades. What keeps it going is us continuing and going, I don't like that, right? I don't want that to be here. And that's engaging in sort of operating from fantasy world as opposed to just being anchored in the present moment. And so I guess the three guidelines, the first is you have to have a clear anchor, right? Some place to put your attention and then bring your attention back. Two is that we want a clear start and a clear end. And then paired with that, maybe 2A is that we want to start where we're successful. So don't put too much weight on the bar, right? So if it's going to be 2 minutes, start with 2 minutes. If 2 minutes feels doable, right, then you can up it to 3, right? But don't jump to 20 and then go, man, everything is awful and I hate it and I'm never doing it again, right? Because we've already outlined why this is such a powerful task that you can do, a powerful exercise.
Something that I thought about when you were talking about the mental reps and starting where you're going to keep doing it and not get frustrated and stop. Something that I think might benefit listeners to understand and think about this as is everybody understands and agrees with the sentiment of getting 1% better. And if people can reframe their meditation practice as, hey, that sucked. It was really frustrating because I felt like I was totally unfocused, but I did it. That's you doing the things to get 1% better. And as soon as you get into a practice that you're going to stop doing it because it's that difficult, you're not getting 1% better at this skill anymore. You're not getting better at all. And you might be losing the gains that you were making after meditating consistently. And the last guideline I'd like to include on this meditation practice is that consistency piece. So just like going to the gym, you cannot go to the gym a couple times a week here and there whenever you feel like it and expect to see significant results. You have to do this on a consistent basis every day. And this is where you're going to see the difference in your mental game, that you're going to see that improvement to your awareness of performance damaging thoughts and that improvement of refocusing on performance relevant cues.
And
So yeah, go
can
ahead.
I tag something there real quick? And so just like the gym example, right? If you haven't been in the gym for a while, you might go 3 days a week for a couple of weeks and then go 4 days a week. And then even then you still need rest days if you've been at it for 6 months or 6 years. Right. But it's a great point that there has to be some structure. Right. So I have to have been doing it intentionally. You can't just show up and go like, I'm gonna do a little bit of that and a little bit of this. You're not going to get stronger on purpose. Right. But that the consistency really is important. It's better to do 2 minutes 5 times a week than it is to do 20 minutes once.
Exactly.